Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. I'm your host, Kiera Dent, and I have this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. Hello, Dental Team listeners. This is Kiera, and you guys, I am so pumped for today's podcast. I have one of my favorite companies. I met them when they very first started. We were just starting, so I think we kind of have a little like duo friendship that way. But these people are amazing, and if you aren't utilizing them, if you haven't figured out how to boost your Google reviews, you are in for the best treat. So I'm so pumped to bring on Danny. Danny works with Swell. If you guys haven't heard about Swell, you need to, because in my opinion, the reason they're the best is because they do it so well. That's how I remember Swell. They're just the best at getting Google reviews, and I'm excited. Danny's got some cool things to kind of help practices, even if you are utilizing Swell, even boost those Google reviews more. So Danny, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you kindly. I'm doing well. Just here in snowy Utah, living the dream.
I love it. We actually pre-show connected on the fact that Danny may have gone to school with my husband. So we're waiting till post-show to see if they know each other. I feel like it's like, who's behind the door? My husband wasn't free. But it's kind of fun that you're in Utah. But Danny, kind of, for those who don't know about Swell, Zeke and I literally remember being in an office. I was in Alabama consulting a practice, and they needed help with Google reviews. So I looked up, I had been told about Swell. I was on a flight and somebody had mentioned Swell. And so, and you guys were like, early on. I was early on in my career. And I remember I just picked up the phone. This is when you guys used to not have a great branding. It was like a well. And I'm like, I don't understand what this is about. And I called and Zeke answered. And I said, hey, I'm Kiera Dent with the Dental A team. I heard you guys are great. I want to utilize you in a practice and see if you're good. What do I need to do? And that's honestly how Zeke and I got connected. And Zeke has just been awesome. And the practices that I put you guys in, no joke, I think the worst one did 30 Google reviews in 1 month. The best one did 85 Google reviews in 1 month. And so it was super fun for me to have immediate social proof and great testimonial. And since then, Zeke has told me many times, Kiera, any event you go to, please tell me. We will be there because you're a little walking advertisement for us, which I am because you guys do it so well. So that's kind of how I met you guys, how I got introduced, but kind of tell us like what the scope of Swell is and how you guys even got started.
Yeah, so Swell actually kind of fell backward into dentistry. Initially was hoping to help small pharmacy groups survive against the big boys, but then stumbled into dentistry and realized that there was a great fit in that there were many systems that were currently attempting to help practices get reviews. A lot of them was just the 5-digit short code, less branded or personalized messages, just with a link and then a few different steps that they had to do in order to leave a review. But Swell just said, well, we need to make it super easy, super convenient, and with as few steps as possible for patients to leave a review. So went out and integrated with all of the practice management softwares, stayed hyper-focused on driving the most reviews possible for practices, and really Swell, as we know it today, without the whale that you're talking about, new branding, we think we're a little bit sexier and,
Agreed.
and our design and the aesthetic of our product, our branding, all of that is really great. But most importantly, we're just super effective at getting practices reviews to the sites that matter, mostly Google, and then Facebook, Healthgrades, other sites as well.
Totally.
But that's Swell in a nutshell. Primarily, we know reviews are the tip of the spear, but then Swell built a little bit out and said, hey, reviews help you stand out online, but then you need to connect conveniently and convert these patients. And so we've built out some tools like web chat and different things after the fact, but it all starts with the reviews.
For sure. And I will say, I am a Swell, we have been a Swell user. So Swell, up until we joined with HubSpot, we actually utilized Swell's chat on our website, and it was awesome. We loved it. It was so easy, and it actually started building so much traction. And literally the only reason we don't have Swell on ours is because HubSpot integrates and it just pulls all the information. But guys, if I didn't have HubSpot, I would still be with Swell. You guys were fantastic. You helped with our Google reviews. We still utilize you guys for Google reviews. But kind of like, so offices, obviously, I hope, if you don't know, we are in 2022. You've got to have a presence on Google. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Everybody finds you on the website. That is, to me, your website, and being on Google is your resume to the world. And if it's not there, you're not going to be found these days unless you are attracting a different clientele than the current millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, whomever is coming in. Like, that's what they're looking for. So Danny, kind of walk us through. You were telling me some crazy cool algorithms. I also love that you guys have always only been with Google, because I was never a huge fan of some other platforms. And so I love that you guys have just stayed primarily Google, because Google doesn't take away reviews unlike some other platforms. But kind of just tell us some of the algorithms you guys have come up with, because you guys, that's honestly why I think you do it so well, is because you've stayed very niche, you've stayed very focused, and you guys crank Google reviews. So kind of just walk us through some of the things you guys do differently that practices can do to increase those Google reviews.
Yeah. Well, just I think one thing that's really important for practices to understand is that Google reviews to the Google My Business page affect local and broader searches. So like you were saying, Kiera, it all starts with an online search. Dentist near me, affordable dentist, cosmetic dentist, all on for, whatever the case. And if practices aren't showing up in that initial Google search, it's referred to as the map pack, then they're being overlooked and potentially missing out on a patient that could have searched them online through social proof, read through very positive reviews, and said, great, this will do. I'll make an appointment. So Google is tracking several different things. One is the location of the searcher. That's pretty intuitive. It's just how far away is the business from where that patient is searching. There's proximity, and then there's something that's called authority. So that's how well are they known online? Do they have SEO? Is their website getting lots of hits? This is less important for the review side. But the two important things that we like to focus on is, number one, Google is constantly tracking the star rating of the practice, and then the frequency or the recency that they're receiving reviews to the Google My Business page. So essentially, we think that if you can raise your star rating or maintain a high rating and have fresh, recent reviews coming to the page with responses as well, because responses are factored into that freshness or recency, those practices are more likely to show up front and center when a patient within proximity searches for a dentist or anything of that nature. They'll pop up. One other thing you and I spoke about were the keywords. This is something that practices, those of you who are already using Swell, I want you to listen closely, because this is a great way to increase in terms of keywords and boost your chances of being front and center on Google. If a patient, when you're sending out your review request, you could actually, in the verbiage, say, please describe your experience with us. Now, the patient is able to say whatever they want based on HIPAA. They can say, I went in to Dr. Lineri, I got an implant, an all-on-4 case, they changed my life. And then when I respond to that as the practice, I know I can't say the patient's name or anything tying specifically to their actual appointment, but I can say, we love to do all-on-4 cases. We love to place implants. We love to do veneers. We love Invisalign. And those keywords, so that will be the patient saying it and the practice saying it. And those keywords, that's a big deal with Google and their rankings as far as the current algorithm goes. And so that's something I'm always telling practices to do, is ask patients to be as descriptive as possible. And then within HIPAA, you can't, you have to walk a fine line, but you can say, we love placing implants. We love doing Invisalign. And now when patients are searching Invisalign dentist or all-on-4 or implant dentists near me, they're much more likely to be ranking higher than other practices who are just saying, thanks for your review, or the patient just said, love the practice, will come back for life. They can use those keywords to start ranking much higher now, as Google has factored that in.
Interesting. So Danny, you talked about this a lot, and I actually don't know. So I'm going to ask you, since you're the guru on it, when people do respond, because I do have a lot of practices who don't respond. So that was really helpful to hear that keeps you more relevant. Also, podcast listeners, this is why I'm telling you guys to please go leave us like reviews on the podcast, because just like Danny said, yes, we have quite a few reviews from you guys. Thank you. But we have to stay relevant. So if we're not getting reviews every single month, the podcast doesn't actually stay as relevant. It's not ranked as high. So guys, if you haven't left Dental Team a 5-star review, because hello, he just said reviews and star statuses. So it's the same thing within the podcast world as well. So guys, that's why I'm always asking, like, please, if you haven't done so, because it makes our podcast relevant. Same thing with your practices. So that's how you can help the Dental Team out. That gives so much value to you, and also what you guys can do for your practices. Unfortunately for me on the podcast, I can't actually respond to any of the reviews. The way they have it set up, you can't respond to podcast reviews. But Danny, when you talked about responding on the Google reviews for your practice, it does keep you relevant, but you also mentioned HIPAA. So what are some of the things not to do on those reviews so people can remain HIPAA compliant on their review responses?
Yeah, well, and I have to say that in terms of HIPAA compliance, this is something that I don't know all the ins and outs. But
agreed.
In terms
so
of,
go check with your HR people, guys. So we'll tell you like the basics, but go confirm this is correct.
Yeah, for sure. It really just comes down to acknowledging a patient in the practice. You know, you can't say, we loved placing that implant for you, or we love having you as a patient in the practice. It needs to be a little bit more generic, like, thank you so much for that feedback. We always strive to deliver a wonderful experience, and we love placing implants, as opposed to, thank you for being our patient, and we loved placing that implant, and the results have been phenomenal. Follow up with us if there's any problems. You know, it's really just, it's basically taking it a layer removed and just being a little bit more general in terms of, you can say the services that you like to offer, the experience that you like to provide, but you can't actually make it so that the public knows that that patient is a patient of record and that you treated X, Y, and Z in their mouth.
Got it. So can you do one, not the other? There's no way you can say that this patient, like, thank you so much for coming in. We love you as a patient. That's like a hard pass no, because it'd be acknowledging that that patient's coming to your practice. Is that correct?
That is my understanding. Yeah, that people have gotten in trouble, or practices have gotten in trouble by being, just trying to be personal, but they were a little too personal. And there are certain things that you can't acknowledge through the Google response.
Sure. Which makes sense. Yeah. So I think like guys just err on the side of safety. But what Danny was saying is like, thank you so much for this feedback. We absolutely love treating every patient with the greatest experience possible. Like those things you can say. And if they do talk about a service that you did, it sounds like, Danny, what you're trying to say on this with the keywords is to re-emphasize basically the exact same thing that they said with that keyword. So implants, new patient experience, sleep apnea, ortho, anything like that, because I'm trying to think of what people would be searching, or those keywords that would be coming up. But be clever and creative on those responses to capitalize on what they said and then what you're responding back with to get a double. It sounds like it's like a 2-for-1 deal. Like they gave you the review, you can actually maximize those keywords with your response. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, just encouraging those descriptive responses. I've had practices and even close dental friends that have come to me and said, how can we avoid people just going and leaving us a 5-star and not saying anything? And I just say, ask, make it clear in your text message that should be highly personalized to begin with, because Swell is sending a branded, it's either the logo, it's a photo of your team. It's even, we can even scrape the schedule of the provider, the operatory. And if there were 30 hygiene appointments, 4 extractions, and 3 implants, we can take every individual provider and intuitively swap in a photo of the person that they met with.
Clever.
Calling them by name, the provider by name. And then in that text request, you could say, please click the link, take the 30 seconds to leave us feedback, be as descriptive as possible, as this helps the general public know about our practice, and this is how we gain new patients. That's not necessarily an invite that you're going to send, but you can find a way to craft a message like that, and people will start leaving you a lot of feedback, and then you can mirror those responses. Or even if they're not being descriptive about specific procedures, you could find a way to thread that in. Experience, certain procedures, Invisalign, implants, all on four. I mean, lots of practices really harp on this, and they're ranking higher and seeing a lot of new patient influx because of it.
Which is so brilliant, Danny. And I hope offices are listening to this, because to me, I feel like that text message you send out to your patients is the bait you're sending out. And if they're not giving you back what you want, change it up. Like, try different things. Danny, is there a way, like my marketing brain's clicking on me, can you A/B test different responses? Or would I just have to try like 1 month of this type of a text, the next month with another type of text verbiage to try and A/B test which one will give me better response rates? Hey, Dental Team listeners, how was your 2021? Have you reflected back? Where did you really win? Where did you really not win? If 2021 was a year of years, congratulations, I am celebrating with you, and I would love to invite you to take it to the next level. If 2021 wasn't quite your year, hey, it's all right. I'm there for you, and I would love to invite you to make 2022 the year for you. That's right, guys. If you're ready to take massive action, if you're ready to take your practice and your team to the next level, increase your profitability, yeah, guys, through an easy way, get your entire team aligned, and you're ready to just have your life be different. That's right. Team development top to bottom, system development top to bottom, changing and shifting your culture, improving your team morale. If that sounds like what you're interested in, guys, I'd love to invite you to join us in our Dental A Team Platinum group. It's the exclusive group where we physically fly to your practice. We give you insider tips. We share with you. We have a quarterly newsletter that goes to that shares all the updates we're coming up with, and we share it with our Platinum group. We'd love to have you, and I would like to invite you because, guys, remember, you're always one decision away from a completely different life. So reach out, guys. I'd love to chat with you. I'd love to see if you're a great Platinum client or what works best for you. Email me, hello@thedentalateam.com, and I can't wait to welcome you as our newest Platinum client. Take massive action. This is your year. Let's make sure 2022 is your year. hello@thedentalateam.com. Can't wait to welcome you.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So that's absolutely possible through Swell. We actually keep the click data on every individual template. So how many sends, how many clicks, how many opens, how many responses. So essentially, like you're saying, and it's not always you just plug this in and it's magic, but we love that to be the case. But if not, the fine tuning is absolutely there because we have the click data on every individual response. We can track these reviews all the way from invite sent to landed on Google because of our integration with Google. So we can really give them some intel in terms of what photos, what logo, what verbiage, when to send it, all of the which sites are performing the best. It's all there in the Swell dash.
Cool. And and guys, I think to me, I feel like somebody listening to this, you're probably one of two people. One's like, wow, that's way too much information. I'm not going to do that. The other person's like, that's so cool. I'm totally going to do this. And what I would hope is, like, Swell is insanely affordable. Like, so ridiculously inexpensive, especially Dental A Team. Like, guys, Zeke and I got together at the beginning of this whole thing. So you better believe he has taken care of Dental A Team clients and still continues to do so. So anytime Dental A Team people come through, guys, you are taken care of with white glove, and you get I don't think there's any other company that gets as low of pricing as we do. And Zeke has been so amazing to maintain that. So guys, like, definitely say you heard on the podcast. But what I think is so cool is, like, to me, that marketing budget is so inexpensive for it, and we get so many Google reviews for it. And if you'll get your team and you'll change up just these text message responses and to see what response you get back, so I guess the text message verbiage to see the responses coming in, to me, I feel like it's almost, not quite there, free new patient marketing. Like, it's very expensive to bring on a new patient, but if, like you were saying, you can rank higher in Google, you can capitalize on those keywords, you can get more people to respond, more people are going to find you just by Google searching. So to me, I feel like this would be a high priority project that I would definitely try and work on over the next couple of months to see if I can get our rankings to come higher. Again, it's not like an immediate instantaneous thing. It will take a little bit of time to grow in those rankings. But gosh, Danny, I heard from somebody, and I'm not going to quote it because I could be totally off, but do you guys kind of have an average of based on the number of patients you see, on average, how many Google reviews you guys tend to see with that information, just so people can kind of see if they did utilize Swell, how many average reviews they should be getting per month based on the patient numbers they see.
Yeah, well, just like you said, with the two example practices, you put this in, one was 30 and one was 80. So funny enough, we do think that based on all of the accounts that we've activated, that around 30% of the active patient base that they're seeing, which is usually trumping whatever they have going on. But then on the high end, like I've got a friend in Dallas, Chad Duplantis. I think you know Chad Duplantis. I'm not sure. But I searched Chad on Google last year, and he had 10 reviews on his Google My Business page. And I was like, Chad, people know you all over the country in dentistry. You're a speaker, well-renowned. I'm sure the experience in your practice is great. What's going on? He had a system. Funny enough, it was a company that I used to be with that was soliciting his reviews. And I said, do me a favor, plug in Swell. And now, after a year of using us, he's over 450 on Google. I mean, he was texting me on the weekend saying, I got seven 5-star reviews last night. High five, and he's responding to all of them personally through our mobile app. So obviously in his case, it's a much larger percentage, but we typically think that we can convert around 30% of their active patient base. If they're seeing, it doesn't matter the number of patients. If they have a patient flow, we can take a certain percentage and convert those into online reviews, which will lead to new patients and just higher rankings.
It's so cool because at the end of the day, like what's so cool about this is, guys, like, again, I see this as like, I don't know. I must be really lazy, guys. I'm a Taurus, like by nature. I'm more of a lazy individual, I think. But I prefer the term efficient. To me, I'm like, okay, if I exert just a little bit of effort on these Google reviews, utilize a great software, I can get so many more new patients in easier than having to build newsletters and flyers and social media campaigns. Like that stuff takes freaking work. Yet alone, like I could literally implement Swell, change up my text message and send it out to my patients and then check the data that's coming back to me and respond to these reviews. Like to me, that, I guess this is just like my ROI on my time. How much ROI will I get for it? Like to me, honestly, I've done Swell. I've worked in practices. I'm talking less than an hour a month. Like it takes no time to respond to these reviews. It's so easy to do. You guys have such a great software for it that I'm like, okay, so I do an hour of input of time and I'm getting so many new patients back from it. Why would I not want to exert my time there? Even if I was at 5 hours a month, to me, that's like I have done social media campaigns. That sucker takes me a good, like solid 5 hours minimum to just like write posts for like social media posts. And then you got to do your story and then you've got to respond to people, and those people don't always convert. So just thinking of like ROI on time, I feel like it's a no-brainer for practices to do it. So I am curious because I know I hear this a lot with Swell, and I want to know your guys' take on it. Some people have told me, Kiera, I'm nervous to use Swell because they don't let me filter the reviews that come through. They won't let me. So if I have a patient who's bad, they're going to post about me and there's no way for me to control it. Whereas other review softwares will allow me to control those reviews coming through. So Danny, please respond. I know you guys get this, I'm sure, for lots of people. I think it's great that you don't let them filter them because one, I think it forces the practice to actually be a great practice because you should always have a 5-star experience. But what's your response to that as to like being able to filter the reviews?
Well, so the first response is that is actually to stay in alignment with Google, number one, in that you cannot gate reviews. If you gate reviews, meaning if you're saying, how was your experience 1 to 5, and then they go 4 and 5-star reviews are then asked to leave a review, and 1, 2, and 3-star responses are then taken for internal feedback. If Google finds out about that, they flag that and they pull those down because Google is trying to have the most authentic, real experience or a real depiction of the practice. But then if we have notoriously grumpy patients, we've actually made a great effort to make sure that it's simple and easy for practices to avoid even sending that patient a request. So with 3 different practice management softwares, Dentrix, EagleSoft, and Open Dental, you can write #DND, do not disturb, into the chart notes for that patient, and it will not, when we sync with the software, it won't send that patient a response. or because we're syncing with all of the practice management data, you can go through and see all of your patients in a list form and just click a simple box that says block, and they won't receive a review request. Mm-hmm. So we know that there are individuals who will gripe, but really even one of our other comments to this is that negative reviews are not the end of the world.
Agreed.
It's one, they come in, you're notified through Swell in real time. You respond to that review. Once again, with HIPAA, don't get into an online argument, but just say, so sorry, there's a misunderstanding. Thank you for your feedback. We'll reach out to you privately. Now, the general public, we have to remember, these reviews aren't for the practice, they're for the public to get an idea of what it's like to do business with the practice. So when they see a negative review, a response from the owner, it was handled well, that can actually turn into a plus, but then they don't need to really worry about that, because with the freshness and the frequency that reviews are coming in, that negative review will be buried in no time.
For sure. And I think, like, to your point, I've actually had luckily I haven't had a lot of them, so I should quantify this. But when I have had negative reviews, I have contacted those patients. I call them. I don't respond. Some people are afraid to call them. Guys, even in the dental A team, I had somebody give us some negative feedback. I was so freaking thankful for it. I called those people and I wanted to hug them and high five them. And I told them, thank you so much. 2 of them became clients. So it's crazy that you can, that is the best feedback. And also, like you said, Danny, guys, if you're getting negative reviews, please do an internal check on your practice. I think that is one of the best things that could ever happen to you, because it can show you where your systems are low, where your patient experience is low, maybe where your dentistry needs to be improved. Please thank those people. I think a good life-changing book for me was Raving Fans, and it talked about the worst thing that can ever happen to a business is for that customer not to give you feedback, because if they don't give you feedback, they have no confidence that you will ever change. If they are willing to complain to you, tell you how you can improve, they have trust and confidence in you that something can be done to make this better, which is why they're willing to be vulnerable and share. So yes, the 5 stars feed our dopamine ego and they want us to be great, but gosh, those 1 and 2 stars, please utilize a software that allows them to come through. Please, allow your practice to get better, because I think it's so hard in today's day and age to actually get honest feedback, to find out how we can improve. So that's why I'm always pro. I'm no, I love that Swell doesn't let you sift through and only choose the positives, because 1, it's false. And you're having a false impression of your practice. And 2, you're not able to give yourself an opportunity to be better. When your neck is on the line and you know every person that can leave you a review is going to, yes, of course, there's a few people that no matter what you do will never be happy. So please don't send them a review link. Save yourself that headache. But when every single patient could get a review link, you actually are going to act as a more elite practice. You'll raise the standards of your whole practice, and you're going to rise the experience as well. So I think I love that you guys do that. I'm such a huge proponent of what you guys do. I love that you gave some tips of how they can utilize those keywords in their responses. So Danny, I've just been the biggest fan of you guys. Not only are you amazing with your technology, you've stayed niche. I told Danny pre-show, I'm so glad you stayed niche, because some companies are awesome and they take off and they're great at the beginning, and then they go downhill when they become bigger and more popular. And Swell has not. You guys have stayed consistent, you've maintained, and you've only branched out in areas where you genuinely are making a bigger impact versus trying to detour. So I love that about you. So Danny, if people are interested, they want to boost those Google reviews, try you guys out. I love that you're month to month as well. How can they connect with you? What's the best way for them to get Swell in their practice?
Well, I believe, given our relationship with Dental A Team, we have a link that will go out in the show notes. So we'd love to have you click and take 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's not a long-winded demo. We think that seeing is believing. Let us show you how we differ from other systems. We're not trying to rip and replace other systems in your practice, but we're a hyper-focused bolt-on that plays nicely with others. We sit side by side. So click the link, or you can go to sales@swellcx.com. Send an email to sales@swellcx.com, or you can visit our website, swellcx.com. But the most important thing, like Kiera said, she's been with Swell from the beginning, and the pricing really is phenomenal for Dental A Team members and podcast listeners. So make sure to mention Kiera, Dental A Team, and we will take care of you. with the discount.
Like,
And
I'm not
they
kidding.
can also reach out to me personally if they want. I won't necessarily do the demo, but I can put you in touch. Danny, DANNY at swellcx.com. I'd love to hear from you and get you in touch with our team.
Cool. I love it. And guys, I'm not kidding. Like, when we say, like, this pricing doesn't exist at all anymore. And Zeke has been so awesome to just like maintain the relationship he and I set up. I think we're like pushing almost 3-4 years in a relationship together. So I just adore Swell. Danny, I appreciate you so much. You guys are fantastic. You're going to be at our Dental Team Summit. I'm excited for you guys to be there. Literally, I feel like Swell and Dental Team were a good peanut butter jelly, and we just like duo around the world together because I think what you guys do is just awesome. I love who you guys are as a company. I love what you guys stand for, and I love that you get results. I'm all about results. Like, any person I work with, I want them to ensure results. So guys, just try it out. Even if you're with a review company, like, test it out, see. I like to compare, and they're month to month. So you could try it with some of your patients going through Swell, some of your patients going through another one, and just see. But at the end of the day, I don't care what you do, who you use. 2 things I hope you take away from this is, 1, boost those Google reviews because it's the easiest way and the way of the future for you to be noticed and seen. And number 2, make sure your practice is truly 5-star worthy. I think that's the biggest takeaway I have from today. So Danny, thank you for being on here. Thanks for being part of Swell. Super appreciate you guys and all that you do.
Yeah, well, thanks so much. We love you and the team, and look forward to the summit here shortly.
Totally. All right, guys. As always, thank you all for listening, and I'll catch you next time on the Dental Team Podcast.
And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental Team Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.